The sound of plasma fire echoed through the rocky canyon as Captain Hyunwoo Kim pressed his back against the cold stone wall. His breathing was heavy, and his heart pounded in his chest. The mission had gone wrong from the very beginning. 3 hours earlier, Hyunwoo and his team had landed on Vex Prime to gather information about the alien base. The planet was supposed to be lightly guarded. Intelligence reports said there were only a few Kethmori soldiers stationed there. But intelligence was wrong. The Kethmori Empire had turned Vex Prime into a major military outpost. Hundreds of alien soldiers patrolled the area. Their weapons were more advanced than anything humans had seen before. The tall, gray-skinned aliens moved with deadly precision through the rocky terrain. Hyunwoo watched as his teammates fell one by one. Sergeant Dong Hyun was hit by an energy blast that left nothing but smoke. Private Mi Young tried to run, but alien hunters caught her within minutes. Now Hyunwoo was alone, trapped in a canyon with nowhere to go. The Korean captain checked his weapon. Only 2 energy cells remained. Not enough to fight his way out. Not enough to make a real difference. But maybe enough to take a few enemies with him. Heavy footsteps approached from both sides of the canyon. The Kethmori had him surrounded. Their voices spoke in their harsh alien language. Hyunwoo could not understand the words, but he knew they were planning his capture. A massive alien appeared at the canyon entrance. This one was different from the others. His armor was decorated with golden symbols that marked him as a high-ranking officer. Scars covered his gray face, and his yellow eyes glowed with cruel intelligence. "Human soldier," the alien spoke in broken galactic standard. "You will surrender now. Resistance is pointless." Hyunwoo raised his weapon. "I am Captain Hyunwoo, Kim, of the Terran Defense Corps. I will never surrender to your kind." The alien laughed. It was a cold sound that made Hyunwoo's skin crawl. "Brave words from a dead species. Your planet will burn soon enough. But first, you will serve as entertainment." More. Kethmori soldiers appeared on the canyon walls above. Their weapons were all pointed at Hyunwoo. He counted at least 20 enemies. Even if he could kill 5 or 6, the others would capture him easily. "What do you want from me?" Hyunwoo asked. "Information about human military positions. Codes. For your defense systems. Details about your fleet movements." The alien officer stepped closer. "But we will not ask nicely. The Kethmori have special methods for extracting information from prisoners." Hyunwoo thought about his sister Da-eun back on Earth. She worked as a scientist studying alien life forms. She always believed that different species could find ways to understand each other. But these Kethmori seemed interested only in conquest and destruction. "I will tell you nothing," Hyunwoo said firmly. The alien officer smiled, showing sharp yellow teeth. "We shall see about that. But first, we have something special planned for you. Our prison holds many dangerous creatures. One in particular has been lonely for quite some time." A stun blast hit Hyunwoo from behind. His body seized up and he fell to the ground, unable to move. The weapon caused intense pain but did not kill. The Kethmori wanted him alive. As darkness closed in around him, Hyunwoo heard the alien officer speaking to his soldiers in their harsh language. Then the officer switched back to galactic standard, apparently wanting the human to understand his fate. "Take him to cell block 7. Throw him in with the dragon creature. The beast has not eaten in several days. It should provide quite a show for the guards." The last thing Hyunwoo saw before losing consciousness was the alien officer's cruel smile. Then everything went black. When Hyunwoo woke up, he was lying on a cold metal floor. His head throbbed and his mouth tasted like copper. Slowly, he pushed himself up to a sitting position and looked around. The cell was larger than he expected. Dark stone walls rose high above him, disappearing into shadows. A single light panel provided dim illumination. The air smelled of sulfur, and something else he could not identify. Heavy chains hung from one wall. Scratch marks covered the stone surfaces. Some of the scratches were deep gouges that looked like they had been made by massive claws. Dark stains on the floor suggested that previous occupants had not survived long. A low rumbling sound came. From the far corner of the cell, Hyun-woo turned toward the noise and his blood froze. Two glowing amber eyes stared at him from the darkness. Something huge moved in the shadows, scales scraping against stone. The creature stepped into the light, and Hyun-woo got his first clear look at his cellmate. It was indeed a dragon, just as the Keth-Mori officer had said. The beast stood 12 feet tall on powerful legs. Obsidian black scales covered its muscular body. Sharp claws extended from its feet and hands. A long tail swished behind it as it studied the human intruder. But something was wrong with the dragon. Hyun-woo could see old wounds on its body. Scars from energy weapons marked its scales. Its left wing hung at an odd angle, clearly damaged. The creature looked tired and underfed. The dragon took one step forward, then another. Its amber eyes never left Hyun-woo's face. The human captain prepared himself for death. At least it would. Be quick. Outside the cell, he could hear Keth-Mori guards gathering. They were probably placing bets on how long he would survive. Their laughter echoed through the corridors. But Hyun-woo remembered something his grandmother Soonja had told him long ago. Back on New Seoul Colony, she used to tell stories about dragons. In Korean folklore, dragons were not monsters to be feared. They were wise protectors who helped those who showed them proper respect. Looking into the dragon's eyes, Hyun-woo saw something unexpected. Not mindless hunger or rage, but intelligence. This creature was not a beast. It was a person, trapped just like him. The dragon stopped moving and tilted its massive head to one side, as if puzzled by the human's calm reaction. The dragon and the human stared at each other for what felt like hours. Neither moved. Neither made a sound. The Keth-Mori guards outside the cell grew quiet, probably wondering why they had not heard screaming yet. Hyun-woo slowly got to his feet. His movements were careful and deliberate. He did not want to startle the massive creature. The dragon watched him with those intelligent amber eyes, but did not attack. "Hello?" Hyun-woo said softly in Galactic Standard. "My name is Hyun-woo." The dragon's head tilted further to one side. Its ears, which were small and pointed, twitched slightly, but it remained silent. Hyun-woo took a small step forward. The dragon tensed but did not back away. The human could see more details now. The creature's scales were not just black. They had a deep purple shine that caught the dim light. Its claws were chipped and worn. Its breathing was slightly labored. "You are hurt," Hyun-woo observed. He pointed to a particularly nasty wound on the dragon's left shoulder. The flesh around it was swollen and had an unhealthy green color. "That needs medical attention." The dragon followed Hyun-woo's gaze to its own shoulder. It made a low rumbling sound that might have been acknowledgement, or it might have been a warning. Hyun-woo could not tell which. Moving very slowly, Hyun-woo pulled off his uniform jacket. Underneath, he wore a simple gray shirt. He tore a strip of fabric from the jacket and held it up so the dragon could see. "I want to help," he said. "I know some basic medical care. That wound could kill you if it gets worse." The dragon stared at the piece of fabric. Then it looked at Hyun-woo's face. The human tried to keep his expression calm and friendly. He had no weapons. He posed no threat to this powerful creature. All he could offer was help. After a long moment, the dragon took a step closer. It lowered its massive head until it was at Hyun-woo's eye level. The human could feel the creature's warm breath on his face. It smelled like sulfur and smoke. Hyun-woo reached out very slowly and touched the wounded shoulder. The dragon flinched, but did not pull away. The infection was worse than it looked from a distance. Without proper treatment, the creature would probably die within a week. "This is going to hurt," Hyun-woo warned. He began to clean the wound as best he could with the torn fabric. The dragon made no sound, but its breathing became faster and more shallow. As Hyun-woo worked, he talked quietly to keep the dragon calm. He told the creature about Earth and about his home on New Seoul Colony. He described the mountains and forests where he grew up. He talked about his grandmother Soonja and her stories about wise dragons. In human culture, dragons are respected, Hyun-woo explained as he bandaged the wound. "We see them as noble creatures, powerful but also intelligent and honorable." The dragon made another rumbling sound. This time it seemed less like a warning and more like interest. When Hyun-woo finished treating the shoulder wound, the dragon moved to show him other injuries. There were burn marks from energy weapons on its right arm. Deep scratches covered its back. Its left wing had several broken bones that had healed badly. Hyun-woo did what he could with limited supplies. He tore more strips from his uniform to make bandages. He used water from a small drain in the corner to clean the wounds. The dragon submitted to this treatment patiently, as if it understood that the human was trying to help. While he worked, Hyun-woo studied his cellmate more carefully. The dragon's build suggested it was built for both power and speed. Its hands had opposable thumbs, which meant it could use tools. Its eyes tracked Hyun-woo's movements with clear intelligence. "You understand me, don't you?" Hyun-woo asked softly. "You know what I am saying?" The dragon's ears twitched again. It made a sound that was almost like a sigh. Then, very quietly, it spoke a single word in heavily accented galactic standard. "Yes." Hyun-woo nearly dropped the bandage he was holding. "You can speak." "Little," the dragon replied. Its voice was deep and rough, like distant thunder. "Keth Mori, think me animal. Safer." They not know. This changed everything. The dragon was not just intelligent. It was smart enough to deceive its captors. It had been pretending to be a mindless beast to avoid interrogation or worse treatment. "What is your name?" Hyun-woo asked. "Veltar," the dragon said slowly. "Flame Singer, of Pyros people." "Flame Singer sounds like an important title," Hyun-woo observed. Veltar nodded his massive head. "Scholar warrior, keeper of knowledge and flame." Over the next few hours, Hyun-woo learned more about his cellmate. Veltar had been captured while defending a civilian evacuation on his home world. The Keth Mori had attacked Pyros without warning, targeting schools and hospitals. Veltar fought to buy time for the evacuation ships to escape. He was overwhelmed and taken prisoner. Tate, Dragon had been in this cell for months. The Keth Mori threw other prisoners in with him regularly. Most were so terrified they died of fear before Veltar could even approach them. Others tried to attack him and were killed in self-defense. The guards found this entertaining. "They want me to be monster," Veltar explained. "Easier for them if I am just beast." "But you are not a beast," Hyun-woo said firmly. "You are a person, a scholar and a warrior." Veltar looked at the human with something that might have been gratitude. "You, different from others. Why you not fear?" Hyun-woo thought about this question. "My grandmother taught me that fear comes from not understanding. She said that wisdom means looking beyond the surface to see the truth underneath." "Wise grandmother," Veltar rumbled approvingly. As the day wore on, they shared their meager food ration. The Keth Mori provided barely enough to keep prisoners alive. But Hyun-woo noticed that Veltar gave him the larger portion. The dragon was weakened by his injuries, but still tried to take care of his new cellmate. Outside their cell, the guards were talking in excited voices. Commander Thekval had arrived to observe the unusual situation. Through the small window in their door, Hyun-woo could see alien faces pressed against the glass. They were fascinated by the peaceful coexistence between human and dragon. They expected entertainment, Veltar observed. Instead, they see cooperation. Good, Hyunwoo replied. Let them wonder. Let them try to understand what they are seeing. That night, as they settled down to sleep on opposite sides of the cell, Veltar spoke again. Hyunwoo, the dragon said carefully, practicing the pronunciation. Thank you for seeing me, for treating wounds, for being friend. Hyunwoo smiled in the darkness. Thank you for trusting me, Veltar. Tomorrow we will figure out how to survive this place together. The dragon made a sound that might have been laughter. Together, he agreed. Strange word for dragon and human. But as Hyunwoo drifted off to sleep, he thought it was not strange at all. His grandmother had been right about dragons being wise and noble. She just never told him they could also be friends. 3 weeks had passed since Hyunwoo first met Veltar. The dragon's wounds were healing well thanks to the human's constant care. The infected shoulder wound had closed completely. The burns on his arm were no longer painful. Even his broken wing was starting to move properly again. During these weeks, the two prisoners had developed their own language of communication. They used hand gestures, drawings scratched in the dirt floor, and simple words in galactic standard. Veltar was learning human expressions, while Hyunwoo picked up basic Pyros dragon sounds. The Kethmori guards had grown used to the strange partnership. They no longer gathered at the cell window to watch. Commander Thek Val had decided that keeping the prisoners alive was more entertaining than watching them die quickly. The guards placed bets on how long this unusual friendship would last. Tell me about your world, Veltar said one morning as they shared their breakfast ration. His galactic standard had improved greatly over the past weeks. Hyunwoo smiled. Earth is beautiful. Blue oceans cover most of the planet. Green forests grow everywhere. The air is clean and sweet to breathe. Sounds like paradise, Veltar rumbled thoughtfully. What about Pyros? Hyunwoo asked. What is your home world like? Veltar's amber eyes grew distant. Pyros is world of fire and stone. Great volcanoes rise from red earth. Lava rivers flow like water. Very hot, but beautiful. My people live in cities carved from volcanic rock. We are children of flame and mountain. Hyunwoo tried to imagine such a place. It sounds amazing. Do all your people breathe fire like dragons in human stories? Not breathe fire, Veltar corrected gently. We sing flame. Is different thing. Flame singing is art and science together. We shape fire with voice and will. Create tools, weapons, art from living flame. That's incredible, Hyunwoo said. You must miss being able to do that. Veltar nodded sadly. Kethmori used dampening field, stops all flame singing, makes me feel empty inside, like part of soul is missing. The human could hear the pain in his friend's voice. He reached out and gently touched the dragon's scaled arm. We will find a way out of here, and when we do, you will sing flame again. You really believe this? Veltar asked. Yes, Hyunwoo said firmly. I have to believe it. My sister Da-un is back on Earth. She works as a xenobiologist studying different alien species. She always said that every species has something special to offer the galaxy. Your flame singing sounds like exactly the kind of knowledge she would love to learn about. Veltar perked up with interest. Your sister studies other species? She would want to meet dragon? She would be fascinated, Hyunwoo laughed. Da-Yoon has been studying alien cultures her whole life. But she has never met anyone like you, a scholar warrior who can shape fire with song. She would have 1,000 questions. This seemed to please Veltar greatly. I would like to meet Sister Da-un, could teach her about Pyros flame arts, could learn about earth sciences from her. As the days continued, their friendship deepened. Veltar told Hyunwoo about his life as a flame singer. He had been responsible for teaching young dragons how to control their fire abilities. He also served as a keeper of historical knowledge, memorizing thousands of years of Pyros dragon culture. "We do not write things down like humans do," Veltar explained. "Dragon memory is perfect. We remember every song, every story, every important event. I carry history of my people in my mind." Hyunwoo was amazed by this. "You are like a living library?" "Yes, but now I am only library," Veltar said sadly. "Cannot pass knowledge to young ones, cannot teach flame singing. If I die here, much wisdom dies with me." This gave Hyunwoo an idea. "Then we need to make sure you survive. But more than that, we need to escape. Your knowledge is too valuable to lose." From that day forward, they began to plan seriously. Hyunwoo used his military training to study the prison layout. During his weekly trips to the medical bay, he memorized the corridor patterns. He counted guard posts and noted shift changes. He observed the types of weapons the Kethmori carried. Veltar contributed his own observations. His enhanced dragon senses could detect things Hyunwoo missed. He could smell the different metals used in the prison walls. He could hear conversations from 3 levels away. His eyes could see in near darkness. "South wall is different material," Veltar reported after careful listening. "Sounds hollow when guards walk near it. Maybe maintenance tunnel behind." Hyunwoo made a mental note of this information. "What about the energy dampening field? Can you sense how it works?" Veltar closed his eyes and concentrated. "Field comes from central generator. Big machine, maybe 2 levels down. Makes humming sound that hurts my ears. But sometimes humming changes pitch, gets weaker for few seconds." "When does it get weaker?" Hyunwoo asked with excitement. "When big ships land at spaceport," Veltar said. "Ships use a lot of power, draws, energy from prison systems." This was valuable information. If they could time an escape attempt with a ship landing, Veltar might be able to use his flame abilities for a short time. They also shared personal stories to pass the long hours. Hyunwoo told Veltar about growing up on New Seoul Colony. He described the mountain forests where he learned to hunt and track. He talked about joining the military to protect human colonies from alien threats. "Never thought I would be friends with alien," Hyunwoo admitted one day. "Military training teaches us to see other species as potential enemies." "Same for me," Veltar rumbled. "Dragons taught that other species are weak or dangerous. But you, show me this is wrong thinking. Humans have different strengths, but are not weak." "What do you mean?" Hyunwoo asked. "Dragons strong in body and flame," Veltar explained. "But humans strong in mind and heart. You see solutions where others see only problems. You make friends where others see only enemies. Is different kind of power." Their conversations were interrupted one day by unusual activity outside their cell. More guards than normal were patrolling the corridors. Orders were being shouted in the Kethmori language. Through their small window, they could see officers hurrying back and forth. "Something big happening," Veltar observed. His sensitive ears were picking up conversations from distant parts of the prison. "What are they saying?" Hyunwoo asked. Veltar listened carefully. "Important visitor coming, Admiral somebody. They want prison to look perfect. No problems, no escapes, no dead prisoners." "An admiral," Hyunwoo mused. "That means someone very high-ranking in their military hierarchy. This could be an opportunity." "Opportunity for what?" Veltar asked. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. "To show them that they made a mistake putting us together. High-ranking officers don't like surprises. If we can create the right kind of chaos at the right moment, it might give us the chance we have been waiting for." "You have plan?" Veltar asked with interest. "The beginning of one," Hyunwoo replied. "But I will need your help. And we will need to be very careful about timing." Outside their cell, the guards continued their frantic preparations. Neither the human nor the dragon knew exactly what was coming, but both felt that their time of planning was coming to an end. Soon, they would have to act. Admiral Zorthak arrived at the prison 3 days later. The entire facility had been cleaned and organized for his inspection. Guards stood at perfect attention. Every piece of equipment gleamed under the harsh lights. The prison commander wanted to make a good impression. Hyunwoo and Veltar watched through their small window as the Admiral's ship landed. It was a massive vessel, easily 5 times larger than the prison transport ships. The energy required for landing such a ship would definitely strain the facility's power systems. "Remember what you told me about the dampening field?" Hyunwoo whispered to his friend. "When that ship powers up to leave, we will have our chance." Over the past weeks, Hyunwoo had been busy with more than just planning. The Kethmori guards thought he had accepted his fate as a permanent prisoner. They were wrong. The human had been collecting small items every day, a piece of metal from a loose wall panel, chemical cleaning compounds that the guards used carelessly, threads pulled from his uniform during the night, wire from the light fixture that he slowly worked loose. Each item was tiny and seemingly worthless, but Hyunwoo had a plan for all of them. "What are you making?" Veltar had asked several times over the past week. "Tools," Hyunwoo had replied mysteriously. "Human tools." Now, as they prepared for the Admiral's inspection, Hyunwoo revealed what he had been working on. Hidden beneath a loose stone in the floor were several small devices. They looked crude, but functional. "This one is a frequency disruptor," Hyunwoo explained quietly, showing Veltar a device made from wire and metal. "Scraps. It should interfere with the dampening field for a short time. This one is an explosive charge. Small, but enough to blow open our cell door." Veltar stared at the devices with amazement. "You made these from prison garbage?" "Humans are good at improvising," Hyunwoo said with a small smile. "My military engineering training taught me to work with whatever materials are available. The Kethmori made a mistake giving me access to cleaning supplies. Some of those chemicals are very useful when mixed properly. But how you know these will work?" Veltar asked. "I tested small versions," Hyunwoo admitted. "Remember last week when the lights flickered in our cell? That was me testing the frequency disruptor. And yesterday when there was that small explosion in the maintenance area, I was testing the chemical mixture." Veltar's amber eyes widened. "Guards thought those were equipment failures." "Exactly," Hyunwoo said. "Humans are also good at misdirection. We make our enemies see what we want them to see." The dragon was impressed by his friend's cleverness. "What else did human military teach you?" "Many things," Hyunwoo replied. "Tactics, strategy, engineering, psychology. But most important thing is to never give up. Humans survived on Earth by adapting to any situation. We learned to use tools, to work together, to solve problems that seemed impossible." "Kethmori think humans are weak," Veltar observed. "That is their mistake," Hyunwoo said firmly. "Physical strength is not the only kind of power. Humans compensate for our smaller size with bigger brains and stronger determination." Over the next few hours, they refined their escape plan. Hyunwoo would use the frequency disruptor to temporarily disable the dampening field. This would allow Veltar to access his flame-singing abilities. The dragon would then use controlled fire to melt through the cell walls, while Hyunwoo used his explosive device on the door. "But what about after we escape the cell?" Veltar asked. "Prison is full of guards. How do we fight so many enemies?" "We don't fight them all," Hyunwoo explained. "We use speed and surprise. Hit fast, move fast, stay ahead of their response. Also, we won't be alone." "What you mean?" Veltar asked. "There are other prisoners in this facility," Hyunwoo said. "I've seen them during my medical visits. Humans, and several other species that the Kethmori have captured. If we can free them, they will help us fight." Veltar nodded slowly. Strength in numbers. Smart strategy. Humans learned long ago that cooperation is more powerful than individual. Strength, Yunwu continued. That's how we survived on Earth. That's how we built our civilization. And that's how we will escape this prison. The dragon was beginning to understand human thinking. Keth Mori see only weakness in cooperation. They believe in domination, not partnership. Another mistake they are making, Hyunwoo said. They put us together thinking we would fight or that you would kill me. Instead, we became allies. They gave us exactly what we needed to escape. As the day continued, they could hear Admiral Zorthak touring the facility. His voice echoed through the corridors as he inspected different areas. The prison commander followed him everywhere, answering questions and showing off the security measures. "Tell me about this human prisoner," they heard the Admiral say as he approached their cell block. "The reports say he has been here for weeks without breaking." "Yes, sir," the commander replied. "Very stubborn. But we have special entertainment for him. The dragon creature in his cell should break his spirit eventually." "Show me," the Admiral ordered. Hyunwoo and Veltar quickly hid their escape tools and sat on opposite sides of the cell. They tried to look like defeated prisoners who had given up hope. The Admiral's face appeared at the window. He was even more intimidating than the prison commander. Scars covered his gray skin, and his yellow eyes burned with intelligence and cruelty. He studied the two prisoners for a long moment. "Interesting," Admiral Zorthak said finally. "They appear to coexist peacefully. This was not expected." "The human seems to have accepted his fate," the commander explained. "Perhaps fear of the dragon has broken his will to resist." The Admiral made a thoughtful sound. "Or perhaps something else is happening here. Continue to monitor this situation closely. Report any changes immediately." After the officials moved on, Hyunwoo and Veltar remained still for several minutes. Only when they were sure the inspection had moved to another part of the prison did they dare to speak again. "Admiral is suspicious," Veltar whispered. "Good," Hyunwoo replied quietly. "Suspicious enemies make mistakes. They start looking for threats in the wrong places." "When do we act?" Veltar asked. Hyunwoo listened to the sounds from outside their cell. He could hear the Admiral's ship powering up its engines for departure. The energy drain on the prison systems would begin soon. "Tonight," he said firmly, "when the ship leaves, we go with it." "You think we can steal Admiral's ship?" Veltar asked with surprise. Hyunwoo smiled. "I think we can do whatever we set our minds to. Humans don't just adapt to situations, Veltar. We change them." The dragon made a rumbling sound that Hyunwoo had learned was laughter. "Human confidence is impressive. Hope you are right about this plan." "So do I," Hyunwoo admitted. "But even if we fail, we will fail trying, and that is a very human thing to do." The escape began at exactly midnight when Admiral Zorthak's ship prepared for departure. Hyunwoo felt the familiar vibration through the prison walls as the massive vessel powered up its engines. The lights in their cell flickered slightly as the energy drain affected the facility's systems. "Now," Hyunwoo whispered. He activated his improvised frequency disruptor. The small device hummed quietly as it sent out interference signals designed to disrupt the dampening field. For a few precious seconds, the invisible barrier that suppressed Veltar's abilities would weaken. Veltar closed his eyes and reached deep inside himself for the flame-singing power that had been blocked for months. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, he felt the familiar warmth building in his chest. "It's working," the dragon whispered with joy. Orange light began to glow between Veltar's claws. It was not the full power he once commanded, but it was enough. The dragon shaped the flame carefully, forming it into a precise cutting tool. He pressed it against the stone wall where they had identified the weakest point. The ancient stone began to melt under the intense heat. Veltar worked quickly but quietly, cutting a hole just large enough for them to crawl through. At the same time, Hyunwoo placed his explosive device against the metal door. The charge was small but carefully designed to blow the lock without causing too much noise. "Ready?" Hyunwoo asked. Veltar nodded. The hole in the wall was complete. Beyond it lay a maintenance tunnel that would take them to the lower levels of the prison. Hyunwoo triggered his explosive. There was a muffled bang and the door swung open. Immediately, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Their escape had been discovered. "So much for stealth," Hyunwoo muttered. "Time for speed instead," Veltar replied. They rushed through the hole in the wall and into the maintenance tunnel. Behind them, they could hear Keth Mori guards shouting orders and running toward their empty cell. The tunnel was narrow and dark, but Veltar's eyes could see perfectly in the darkness. "This way," the dragon said, leading them through a series of twisting passages. They emerged on the level below, in a corridor lined with more prison cells. Through the barred windows, Hyunwoo could see other prisoners. Some were human, others belonged to species he did not recognize. All looked startled by the alarms. "We need to free them," Hyunwoo said. "Too dangerous," Veltar protested. "Guards will be here soon." "Trust me," Hyunwoo replied. He was already working on the electronic lock of the nearest cell. His engineering knowledge allowed him to bypass the simple security system. The door opened to reveal a young human man with engineer insignia on his torn uniform. "Who are you?" the prisoner asked in surprise. "Captain Hyunwoo Kim, Terran Defense Corps," Hyunwoo replied quickly. "This is Veltar. We're getting out of here. Do you want to come?" "Jae-min Park, engineering specialist," the man replied. "And yes, definitely." Working together, they quickly freed a dozen more prisoners. Most were humans, but there were also 2 lizard-like aliens from the Eschatok species and 1 furry creature that looked like a walking bear. All were eager to escape. "How do we get out of the prison?" asked one of the Eschatok aliens. "We fight our way out," Hyunwoo said simply. "But first, we need weapons." Jaemin pointed down the corridor. "Guard station is that way. They have an armory." The sound of approaching boots echoed through the halls. The Keth Mori guards were searching every level systematically. Soon they would reach this area. "Veltar, can you still use your flame abilities?" Hyunwoo asked. The dragon tested his power. The orange glow appeared between his claws again, though it was weaker than before. "Some, but not for long." "That's all we need," Hyunwoo said. He turned to the other escaped prisoners. "Here's the plan. Veltar and I will take the lead. When we reach the guard station, he will disable their energy weapons with flame while we capture their physical weapons. Then we fight our way to the ship bay." "What about the Admiral's ship?" Jaemin asked. "That's our ride home," Hyunwoo replied with a grin. They moved through the corridors like a coordinated military unit. Hyunwoo's tactical training proved invaluable as he led them through the prison's layout. Veltar's enhanced senses warned them of approaching guards before the enemies could spot them. The first real fight came at the guard station. 6 Keth Mori soldiers were manning the post, their energy weapons ready. But they were not prepared for a coordinated attack by multiple species working together. Veltar struck first, his flame disabling their energy weapons by melting crucial components. The weapons sparked and died in their hands. Before the guards could react, the escaped prisoners rushed them with improvised weapons and bare hands. The fight was brief, but intense. The Keth Mori were strong and well-trained, but they were outnumbered and caught off guard. Within minutes, the guard station was secure, and the prisoners had access to real weapons. "Now we're talking," said the bear-like alien, hefting a heavy energy rifle. But their victory was short-lived. More alarms began sounding as reinforcements arrived. Dozens of guards were converging on their position from all directions. "Time to go," Hyunwoo announced. "Everyone stay together. Watch each other's backs." They fought their way through 3 more guard stations, and 2 security checkpoints. Each battle was harder than the last as the Kethmori organized their response. But the escaped prisoners fought with the desperation of beings who had nothing left to lose. Veltar proved to be a devastating warrior when his flame abilities were working. He could melt enemy weapons, create walls of fire to block corridors, and burn through locked doors. The Kethmori had never faced flame singing in combat before and did not know how to counter it. Hyun-woo coordinated their tactics, using his military training to outmaneuver the enemy forces. He turned their escape into a running battle that kept the guards off balance and unable to mount an effective counterattack. "The ship bay is just ahead," Jamin reported as they reached the upper levels of the prison. Through the transparent barriers, they could see Admiral Zorthak's ship sitting on the landing platform. It was even larger up close, with enough capacity to carry all the escaped prisoners back to friendly space. But between them and the ship stood the Admiral himself, along with his personal guard unit. Zorthak's yellow eyes burned with rage as he saw the group of escaped prisoners approaching. "So," the Admiral said in perfect galactic standard, "the human and the dragon have caused all this chaos. How amusing." "Nothing amusing about it," Hyun-woo replied, raising his captured weapon. "We're leaving. You can either get out of our way or we'll go through you." Admiral Zorthak laughed coldly. "Bold words for a dead species. Your planet will burn soon enough, human, but first, you will die here." "We'll see about that," Hyun-woo said. He looked at Veltar and nodded. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle in the ship bay was unlike anything the Kethmori had ever experienced. They expected individual combat between separate species fighting for their own survival. Instead, they faced something completely new, a coordinated attack by multiple species working as one unit. Hyun-woo directed the battle like a conductor leading an orchestra. He positioned the Esktak aliens to provide covering fire from elevated positions. The bear-like creature used his massive strength to create barriers from cargo containers. Jamin and the other humans worked together to disable security systems and override door locks. But the center of their attack was Veltar. The dragon moved through the enemy formation like a force of nature. His flame abilities had grown stronger as they moved further from the dampening field generators. Now, orange fire flowed around him like liquid light, melting weapons, burning through armor, and creating chaos in the enemy ranks. Admiral Zorthak fought with the skill of a veteran warrior. His personal weapons were more advanced than anything. The guards carried, but even he could not handle attacks from multiple directions at once. "How is this possible?" the Admiral shouted as he dodged a burst of flame from Veltar while returning fire at Hyun-woo. "These species should be fighting each other, not cooperating." "That's where you made your mistake," Hyun-woo called back. He rolled behind cover and came up firing at a different angle. "You assumed we would act like you do. But humans know something you don't." "What is that supposed to mean?" Zorthak demanded. Veltar answered by breathing a controlled stream of flame that forced the Admiral to retreat toward his ship. "Means you underestimate power of friendship." The battle raged for 10 more minutes before the tide turned decisively. The escaped prisoners had superior numbers and better coordination. More importantly, they were fighting for freedom while the Kethmori were fighting to maintain their reputation. When Admiral Zorthak's personal guard began to fall back, the Admiral himself was left exposed. Hyun-woo and Veltar moved in from opposite sides, trapping him between human tactics and dragon flame. "Surrender," Hyun-woo ordered, his weapon trained on the Admiral. "Order your remaining forces to stand down." Zorthak looked around at the defeated guards and the group of former prisoners who now controlled his ship bay. His yellow eyes burned with fury and confusion. "I don't understand," he said finally. "How did you escape? Our intelligence report said humans were clever but physically weak. Dragons were powerful but mindlessly aggressive. You should have killed each other or died trying." Veltar made the rumbling sound that Hyun-woo had learned was laughter. Your intelligence wrong about many things. We're not mindlessly aggressive, Hyunwoo added. And we're not individually weak. Those were just assumptions you made because you wanted them to be true. Explain, the Admiral demanded. Hyunwoo exchanged a look with Veltar. They had discussed this moment during their weeks of planning. You made two critical mistakes, Hyunwoo said. First, you assumed that because we're different species, we couldn't become allies. You thought putting us together was a punishment. But humans have a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You gave us exactly what we needed, each other. And second mistake? Zorthak asked grudgingly. You underestimated what cooperation can accomplish, Veltar replied. Dragon strength plus human intelligence equals something greater than either alone. Jae-min had been working on the Admiral's ship during the battle. Now he called out from the boarding ramp. Ship systems are online. We can leave any time. Good, Hyunwoo said. He kept his weapon trained on Admiral Zorthak. Now comes the interesting part. What do you mean? The Admiral asked suspiciously. We're going to let you live, Hyunwoo announced. In fact, we want you to contact your fleet and tell them exactly what happened here. Zorthak looked confused. Why would you want that? Because, Veltar said with satisfaction, you going to deliver message for us. Hyunwoo activated the communication system in the ship bay. The signal would be broadcast to every Kethmori vessel in the system. He wanted as many enemies as possible to hear what he had to say. Attention, Kethmori fleet, Hyunwoo spoke clearly into the transmitter. This is Captain Hyunwoo Kim of the Terran Defense Corps. We have successfully escaped from your maximum security prison. We have captured Admiral Zorthak's personal ship and freed dozens of prisoners from multiple species. He paused to let that information sink in across the enemy fleet. But this escape is just the beginning, Hyunwoo continued. Your empire is built on the assumption that different species cannot work together effectively. You believe that fear and domination are the only ways to control a galaxy. Today we proved you wrong. Humans and dragons fought side by side, Veltar added, moving closer to the transmitter. Not as master and slave, not as conqueror and conquered, as equals, as friends. This partnership will spread, Hyunwoo declared. Other species will see what we accomplished together. They will realize that cooperation is stronger than oppression. Your empire depends on keeping species isolated and afraid of each other. But now they know there is another way. He looked directly at Admiral Zorthak as he delivered his final message. You wanted to make an example of us. Congratulations. You succeeded. We are an example of what happens when different species choose to work together instead of fighting each other. We are an example of what your empire cannot defeat. The transmission ended. Around the ship bay, the remaining Kethmori guards stood in stunned silence. They had never heard anyone speak to their leadership with such confidence. You think this changes anything? Admiral Zorthak asked, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. We think it changes everything, Hyunwoo replied. Your prisoners in other facilities heard that transmission. Your own soldiers heard it. Word will spread that the mighty Kethmori Empire was defeated by cooperation between species you considered weak. It will give others hope, Veltar added. Hope is a dangerous thing for empire built on fear. They boarded the captured ship, taking their weapons and leaving the Kethmori forces behind. As the ship lifted off from the prison facility, Hyunwoo looked back at the place where he had spent the worst and best weeks of his life. Strange, he said to Veltar as they entered hyperspace. They tried to break us by putting us together. Instead, they created the alliance that will defeat them. Humans wise in ways of cooperation, Veltar observed. Dragons strong in ways of honor. Together, we make something new. 2 days later, they arrived at the human fleet base where Admiral Ji-ho Park waited in amazement. The sight of a human captain stepping off a captured alien ship was impressive enough. But when a 12-foot dragon followed him down the boarding ramp, the entire base fell silent. "Admiral Park," Hyun-woo said formally, "I want to introduce Veltar, flame singer of the Pyros people. He is our ally and our friend." Veltar looked at the assembled human officers and spoke in clear, careful galactic standard. "Humans good dragons," he said, using the phrase that Hyun-woo had taught him. "We fight together now." The alliance that would reshape the galaxy had begun with 2 prisoners in a cell. But it would not end there. Across known space, other species were already hearing the story. The message was spreading. Cooperation was stronger than conquest. Friendship more powerful than fear. The Keth Mori Empire had tried to destroy hope by putting natural enemies together. Instead, they had created the force that would ultimately free the galaxy from their rule. And it all started with a human who treated a dragon as a friend, and a dragon who chose to trust in return.